Welcome back to Desk Careers. I'm so excited to bring another incredible guest. Today, we are meeting with Dr. Navana Kundu, who is an award winning and best selling author, speaker, coach, and entrepreneur. Welcome, Dr. Navana. How are you today?
Wonderful. Thank you. It is a privilege for me to be on the show. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to talk to you about your career pathway and the things that you're currently working on. But before we do that, I thought I could take you down memory lane to a time when you were a younger teenager. I know that your academic interests were physics, literature, and history. It's quite a broad context of interest, which is really a teacher's dream come true to have a student who's really well rounded. But how did you know that those subjects could lead you down your current path today, or did they?
Well, as you said, it's a teacher's, great dream to have a all-rounded up student. But for a student, it was very confusing for me because, okay, if you are good at one and not so good in the other, you know what to follow. But when it came to me, I was, I was a topper in the class, and I was good in literature. I had that, flair for writing since then. So I used to write for the school magazine, and the state newspaper used to have a student section once a week. I used to write there. So the flair of writing and my passion for literature was always there. I was also learning at that time Spanish and Japanese. So at one point I was like, oh, I want to be I want to learn languages. But at the same time, I was so interested in history and physics. So the teacher basically told my mom that, it all depends on her, what she wants to do. And that was the most confusing thing for me. I'm like, I love physics. I also love history. I also love literature. So what do I go? Like, do I do liberal arts? Do I do science? What do I do? So it was very confusing. And at that time, I wish I had someone who could guide me in the right direction. And do they actually relate to what I'm doing now? To some extent, yes, because I'm an author. So I'm still, writing. So I believe that passion of mine has been carried forward. So, when we always say, follow your passion, follow your heart, because when we do that, work doesn't feel work anymore going forward in life. Because, people talk about work life balance so much, but work is part of life. You cannot separate work and life. The balance we have to find within ourselves. When we find the balance inside, everything outside is already balanced for us. We can manage things outside, right?
Amazing. Great insight. I love that work and life. It really is. And that is definitely something we talk about with the youth all the time. Let's look
Yeah,
at your academic pathway. So you graduated in communication in Florence, Italy. You
yeah.
later went on to do an MBA, a master's in counseling management in India, and you did your doctorate in effects of meditation on human mind and happiness in the United States of America. I mean, again, so different, so interesting, different parts of the world. What did that travel experience offer you in terms of cultural education? And how did the different, I don't know, the different focuses of education all kind of merge together in your role today?
You know how successful you are in life right now, it all equals to the life experiences you have. The definition of success in today's world has changed radically. It's not anymore about hitting your targets and hitting your objectives. We can have $1 million in the bank, but if our emotional state is that of frustration, depression, loneliness, can we call ourselves truly successful? So now the definition of success is about fulfillment. It's about meaning. It's a life of value. And today I can say that, yes, I have lived it fully. I've lived a life of fulfillment, I lived a life of meaning and value. And that is because of all these life experiences. And that is because I always listened to my own heart. It was not about what others were expecting out of me, or what the society was expecting out of me, or where everybody, I come from the generation where everybody wanted to become a doctor or engineer in India. Like, to be like, for the parents to be proud of you, you need to become a doctor or engineer. And I completely went against the flow. I was not in that herd mentality. I went out of it, out of the box, and I studied communication. And then I wanted to have my own freedom. I always had this, risk factor in me. I loved taking risks because I loved adventure. So that is why that quality of being an entrepreneur was always there in me. But for that, I needed skills. Today, the current generation, it's saying from 2020 to 2030, it's all about startups and being entrepreneur. But even to be an entrepreneur, you need skills. So that's when I decided to do MBA. I learned, it was not just in counseling management, but I also did an MBA in marketing. And then life takes its twists and turns. We all go through our own stories, and none of our stories are bigger or smaller. So I had to go through also my stories of, I had a failed marriage. I lost my mom, and I went through, loneliness, depression. I went through abusive relationships. All of that went on. And at that time, you are looking for answers. There are a lot of questions in your mind. You are questioning everything I've studied so far. If I've learned so far, are they helping me? If they're not, then you are again looking for answers. I was going to workshops. I was learning courses. And this is how I again ended up in doing a doctorate in meditation, because that's where I found my answers. I realized that answers are inside you. It does not matter who you are asking outside, because everybody will give you answers as per their experience, their conditioning. And it's not that they're right or wrong. They might be right for them, but they not be right for you. So you need to find your own answers. And for that, you need to close your eyes and go with it.
And that's a large ask for a young person. So we have to kind of break it down into bite-sized pieces. And I think let's do that by looking at some of your career journey highlights. One of the things that you mentioned was that in your early 20s, you formed a highly successful career in fashion industry in Milan. I mean, can it get any harder than fashion in Italy? What was that like for you?
It was a life maker or breaker. Because you can understand, it was my early 20s, right? At that time, you are attracted so much, you're pulled by the glitz and glamour of the fashion industry. And being in Italy, I mean, you get pulled, with that country's vibe. And it's all about fashion, Milan and, Paris around. And so it was very, very tough, and it was very competitive, because Italy was again a market where they, at those times, they were not very open to include foreigners. And to even get in was very difficult. And then you get paid very little in the beginning, and you go through a lot of hardship, and to make your mark in the industry, and very competitive. I remember in one of the last castings that I was doing for the agency, I was working in a modeling agency there. There were 300 models who wanted to get a job, and only 5 were to be chosen. So it was that tough.
Oh, that is tough.
But it made you learn the skills that I learned today, not to break, to actually be patient with any process. Because nowadays, everybody wants to become the CEO of a company super fast. They want to open a company, and they're, immediately their status changes in social media. They are CEO, and you're seeing their holiday pictures, and it's a lot about showing. But the real life is very different from that. It
Definitely
takes a lot of time, and we need to be patient, because I say to the youngsters today a lot of times, again and again, your worth is more than 2-minute noodles. So don't expect success in 2 minutes.
Definitely. And
Learn.
that is a big learning to ask. Let's zoom down a little more on that timeline and talk to us about how you started your own corporate events company, IBB International, in
Yeah.
Barcelona, Spain. So did you go from Italy to Spain? Was that the journey? Tell us a
Yes.
little more about that journey.
Yes. Um, though I had a lot of, amazing experience working in Italy, but I am always a lover of sun. I need the sun. And Milan does not give you any throughout the year. So that's when I decided, you see, I follow my heart all the time. I wake up one fine morning, I'm like, I need to live with the sun. I need to open the windows and the sun has to pour in the morning. So I packed my bags and I moved to Barcelona. And yes, the sun and the sea. That's what my soul was craving out for. And once I moved to Barcelona, there the fashion industry was not that great as in Milan or Paris. But at the same time, I had my experience of working in a company. How does management work? How does sales work? How does production work? So I took all of that knowledge and I took the next step and moved forward. And I opened my own company for events. So this is what I always tell, to a lot of my clients who also come to me for sessions, and they get so attached to their current job or their current, what they're doing. I'm like, don't get attached to one concept or one job or one place. Take that experience, take that knowledge to move up to the next step, because life is all about changes. And the more flexible you are to adapt to changes, the more successful you will be.
Another great big learning. I feel like I'm in the front row. I say this often to guests, a front row of a TED Talk. Talk to us about the book that you wrote, Emotional Mastery Toolkit for Success. It became a bestseller in the US, in the UAE, and in India in the self-help psychology and mental health section. How did that come to your mind? I mean, where in that career journey did you decide, you know what, I'm going to put it all down in a book?
The need was there in every step, and even today, every day. Because I feel, Maria, our current education system is teaching us so many things, but they're missing out one very important thing, that is how to deal with difficult emotions when life doesn't work out as per your expectations. And I guarantee you that happens not once, but many times in life.
Just so many people, and a young person doesn't really have enough of that life experience. What would you say would be a number one strategy for them to get comfortable with the uncomfortable? Because they will have incredible changes coming, and many of those are unexpected. Many of them are being sheltered and protected by support from family and friends, but again, they have to walk that path and that journey.
See, because I feel it's much more challenging for the young generation today than it was for us. We had different challenges. But at our times, at least we could look up to the adults, to the elders, and ask them what to do, to look up for guidance. But in today's generation, young generations, if they ask us what next, the honest reply will be, I don't know. Because this is how the world is around for us today. Even 3 months ahead of us, we are not able to plan anything in life because we don't know what the situation is going to be like economically, in terms of borders, in terms of travel, what is coming up for us. So it's much more harder for them, challenging for them. What I will advise the young generation today is that, see, we can't expect that from outside things are going to become stable. Things are always going to have happen as we are planning or as we are expecting them to happen. Things can be chaotic. There can be times of, some smoothness, some calmness, some relaxation, and some, again, another time of chaotic movements, happenings around the world. We don't have much of hand, control over there. But one thing you can control and you know for 100% sure is who you are in the core of your heart, in the core of yourself. So know who you are and align your plans and align your goals and your needs as per who you are. And how do you find out who you are, right? Because everybody is talking about find your passion, follow your passion. How do you know what your passion is? It's a simple exercise. I'll give it for everyone today who is watching this show. Remember the time when you were like 6 years old or 7 years old? What did you want to be when you grow up? You must have something. Maria, what did you want to be when you,
Oh gosh, so many
6, 7
things.
years old?
I was going to be a performer when I was younger.
A performer. Okay,
Yeah.
what does that entail? Okay, performer means that you being appreciated. You are not somebody who's working behind the desk. You're somebody who's out there, who's performing, who's being watched by a lot, who's giving value through her performance. And you're being watched and appreciated and applauded. You're working with the masses. When you grew up, even like 13, 14 years old, what did you want to be?
I'm doing it right now. I wanted to help people. I love where you're going with this, Dr. Navana. I think it's so interesting. And you're right. Young people need to go back to a time when they were most inspired, and we encourage them to really take inspiration and keep moving forward. I know that your top tips are that they should be an expert in something they love to do. They should identify what brings them joy, which you were just describing, and don't be afraid of the judgments of others. I think that's a really important one because there will always be judgment as they grow and as they go on that journey. But you also say to focus on excellence. So on the one hand, you're saying be an expert. And then on the other hand, you're saying focus on being excellent and instead of being focused on success. What's the difference between being excellent, being an expert, and not focusing on success?
When you are focusing on excellence, success will follow. It is bound to follow. That's the result of being excellent, which means keep improving every day. You may not see the difference between yesterday and today, but when you see last year and today, you will see the graph. So
Right.
each day keep improving, move. The aim is towards becoming excellent. When you are excellent, your skill will be valued, it will be appreciated, it will be sought after. You will get acknowledgement, you will get connection, you will get validation and success, and money will follow.
Again, very, very aligned. Let's go back to your academic pathways. And I'm going to focus in on this because I know young people focus very heavily on academics right now. And in their mind, it's all about getting that degree. Now, you did an undergraduate, you did 2 master's degrees, and then you went on to do a doctorate degree. Would you say that it was the degrees that helped you move forward, or were you choosing degrees with intention?
We need both knowledge and wisdom. It's not just about reading the theory, but also walking the talk. You have to integrate the knowledge within. How much are you applying it in your daily life? See, in today's world, for example, if you are becoming a doctor or a lawyer, you do need a degree. You do need, knowledge from university. You need to study. But there are certain other professions that is more skill oriented than university degree oriented. If you want to become an entrepreneur, there are completely different set of skills that you need. You need experience of working in a company. You need to do intern. So those things are much different. So both are required depending what you are following.
I love it. I love it. I could keep going on forever, Dr. Navana, but we are going to have to bring this right to a close. Just before we say goodbye, what would you want to leave a young person with? Just that one tip that you think, you know what, this is definitely something that helped me, and I hope it can help you too.
I'm so glad, Maria, that you asked this question. What I would tell everybody out there today is that do not ignore your emotions, because, we hear so much in today's world, take decisions from your mind. You are too emotional. But these are complete myths, because it has been proven in scientific study, that those people whose emotional center of the brain is damaged, they cannot even take a logical decision whether I should have chicken or fish for dinner. So even the basis of reasoning is on emotions. So you want to be successful in life, you need to be emotionally fit. You want to have a great relationship, you need to have great emotions. You want to have great finance management, you need emotion management. You want to be a great leader, you need to understand others' emotions. You don't understand emotions, you don't understand business, because it's the people's world we live in. So understand yourself, understand your emotions, and you will be reaching your goals and objectives in much more smoother and rapid way.
Thank you so much. And that brings us right to the end of another incredible conversation. Today, we were speaking with Dr. Navana Kundu, who is the award-winning and best-selling author, speaker, coach, and entrepreneur. Thank you for watching, and we will see you at our next Best Careers Digital Spotlight.